We're live, everybody.
Oh, yes, we are.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Now I can see the red
Hello, world.
in that flash. Hello, Stuart. Hi, Cecile. Hi, Kerry. Hi, Antje. Well, I don't know how to say your name. Antje? Auntie?
Would you like
Jerry.
to introduce your name?
It was correct. It's Antje, and actually it's quite hard to pronounce. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Antje.
Hi. With this combination of T and J. Yeah, but Antje is correct.
Nice.
Should we start since we're on the top of the hour, or should we wait for another few minutes?
A few minutes, probably. Yeah.
Because we're in the decompression zone, so we can chat and maybe people can talk about, what they did today, or, how their work day was.
Can we switch to the decompression slide so people get hypnotized? Thank you.
This is the place where they all come to get mesmerized. I think we can start. Just to tell everybody a little bit about some things that we practice on the Jam. We will be recording this session on YouTube, and we will be taking some, let's say, screenshots to share the love that we see here on, let's say, social media. Some of it even might go on to Instagram Reels. Please share your smile with us. But if you don't like, if you would like to be in another space, that's also okay. You can switch off your camera. And yeah, let's start with the session. So today we have two lovely people, Ilona and Uli, and they will be telling us all about paddle to steer a cargo. I mean, what is it all about? So I'm very excited that we get to know. We've all worked in, various organizations and in various setups where using design thinking as a process, as a system, has been different, either in the way that we incorporate it or adapt it, test it. So I think each of us have had experiences, and today Uli and Ilona will be sharing their experiences. So over to you guys.
Thank you, Anupa. A warm welcome also from my side. We make a short introduction of Ilona and myself. So I'm Uli. I work as an innovation coach. And I'm very happy and proud to work for the great company Bosch Power Tools. I work in the business unit Blue Industrial Markets, which manufactures tools like this. Okay, Ilona, what are you doing?
Ilona, you're on mute.
Hopefully you're here. Don't let me alone.
Yeah, right, here on mute. So I'm also a kind of coach like Uli. I'm a UX and design thinking coach, also working for Power Tools. And I'm working for the business unit measuring tools. So our tools don't look as dangerous as Uli's tools, but they are quite powerful as well. So the detector and a line laser. So basically what we do, we manufacture power tools. Yeah. Uli?
Yeah?
Have you heard what Anupa said just before? You know that this is recorded and that this is on YouTube right now? What do you think?
Don't worry. I've checked everything with my boss, my BU manager, our data security officer, our facility manager, person A, person B, person C, and everything is data security class XYZ. So there's no issue, Ilona.
Oh, I'm so relieved, Uli, really. Can you pin us too? Because I think I see only Uli Uli pinned. Or do you see both of us, Union?
I need Anupa to remove the spotlight first.
Okay.
Let me help. Yes. Okay. I think now it's going to work. Beautiful technology. Yes.
Oh, now we've got
Perfect.
it. So everything is fine with data class, data security class, and now the two of us are pinned. So
Yes,
let's get started,
I think we can
Uli.
start. Yes. Let's talk about mindset change. What do you mean?
Mindset change. So, Uli, you wanted to talk to me about design thinking.
Yes, I think everybody in the company should have the chance to experience the design thinking method to understand what we are talking about.
Okay, sounds great. So let's do a 2-hour design thinking webinar for everyone.
That's not what I was talking about. They should experience it.
You know, we don't have so much time for that. I think 2 hours should be enough. Maybe afterwards they can watch a kind of YouTube tutorial.
Cross-functional. So Ilona, you told me that you want to start design thinking activities soon. Do you have a team already?
Sure, my whole purpose team will join.
You know, it's good to have a cross-functional team for design thinking activities.
Yes, no problem. We are perfectly cross-functional. Look.
Okay, I read engineer. Okay, 6 engineers.
But we have 1 product manager. I told you we really have the perfect cross-functional fit.
Not really. We know where to start. So Ilona, you told me that you want to start your design thinking activity soon. What would be the scope?
It's very easy. This is the scope.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, this is the product. We just need to do a few user tests, and you know, it's part of our new quality gates in the development process. Between us, it's a lot of time, lots of time, because I'm sure that our users will love it with all those nice features.
Okay, let's test it and see. Testing results. So Ilona, how was your user test? Tell me about your findings.
Well, my one and only finding, our users are really stupid.
What?
Look, they are not able to understand a single button of such a self-explanatory prototype.
Let's ask the guys. Hey, look, we are constructing a new building. The workers surely use a bunch of power tools. Let's go and observe them to get a better understanding.
No way, we have deadlines. The building has to be finished by end of the 3rd quarter. I don't want to see anyone on this job site who's not a craftsman.
But the building is 2 meters away.
No way.
Let's warm up. So let's start our session with a little get to know each other warm up, Ilona.
Come on, we actually already know each other. And we have spent 10 minutes last week during the kickoff session for an introduction round.
But do you know, for instance, what is Martin's favorite dish?
Hey, why should I? I won't invite him for dinner anyway. We're just colleagues, you know.
Bravo.
Perfect.
That was absolutely great. It really showed the spectrum of emotion and actions that, you know, many of us have faced. You'd like to talk a bit more about that?
Yes, can you switch to gallery mode, Yin, please?
We are, I think, yeah.
Okay. So I have a questions to all of you. Does it sound familiar to you? Who of you has ever been in at least one of those situations? Please raise your hand. Okay, Ilona, I think
we're not alone. We're not alone. So feel free to just sum up in the chat the situation you were in, just to share with us in the chat in maybe one sentence, what was the situation that's popped to your mind just 1 minute ago?
So Jana writes, so true hierarchies. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Design thinking takes too long. Exactly. We don't want to spend time and money.
So it should be like a vaccine, right? You vaccine the people and then they all know how to do design thinking. Yeah, don't have time for the discovery. So it's about this quick, like starting with a prototype and very quickly test.
But I knew that was the answer before, exactly. Cool.
Yeah. Really cool. So thanks for sharing. So the time constraint, the money, yeah.
And later you will also have some time in your breakout rooms to discuss a little bit more about your topics. But because we are Bosch, we have prepared some slides for you. Let me share you my screen. Can you see my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So first of all, thank you to our colleague Bastian, who made this nice scribble. Then Ilona, will you start with the challenges?
Yes, sure. So we start with company culture because actually this is the core when you want to introduce a new method. So if you compare a company culture with a tree, you will have our first level, so what you can see, the artifacts. Then a level deeper would have the behaviors of the people. So this is what you can observe. And then very deeply, the roots in the ground, the values and beliefs. Basically what is deeply anchored, and that's you don't question because it's just there and it's so deep in us. Okay. So how is it at Bosch, Uli?
Yes, so if you compare it, the technology versus UX regarding this tree. So our artifacts, you see our Bosch logo, maybe you know it. It's an armature, a very electromechanical thing. And our behaviors, we at Bosch, we love facts and figures. And of course, we love our high-tech products, which are really good. And we love our R&D department, of course. And our values, if there is a technical solution, there must be a need for it somewhere, okay? If we can build it, we should build it. So you know the three innovation bubbles, desirability, viability, and technical feasibility that makes a good innovation. And we at Bosch Power Tools, we started so far with the technology because we are very good in it. We can build anything in the world. But now we are changing it to a more user-centered approach. So we start with methodologies like design thinking, also lean startup, and other agile methods to be more user-centered, to start with the user. What is the benefit for our users? So we try to introduce design thinking at Bosch Power Tools. Ilona, you can tell us more about it.
So how have we introduced basically design thinking at Bosch Power Tools? It was a clear top-down approach because it was decided that we would become an agile organization. So in this frame, we decided to certify 40+ coaches at the Hasso-Plattner Institute near Berlin. And most engineers and marketeers got also 2D training at the HPI. So it's called DT for Innovators. And the rest of the employees, they got half a day web-based training. So this was something internally with some examples, but not very practical. So there were a lot of question marks after those trainings, maybe less for the coaches than for the other employees. So should we apply design thinking for each and every project, even for waterfall, very easy projects? So that was not, there was no clear roadmap. And also, for instance, where should the design thinking coaches be settled in the new organization?
Exactly. So how did we try to overcome those obstacles? So our first hint is a mindset change. Design thinking has to be experienced. So trainings are really nice. If it's a 2-day training or even a web-based training, it's nice. But the people will learn the most if they're doing design thinking in their daily life, in their projects. So this makes sense that they learn it by doing. And what we changed, design thinking was a word. Some people run out of the room if they hear design thinking at Power Tools. So we name it UX workshop or UX projects, not design thinking anymore.
Okay. So what about the teams? So this is really, it was not a joke. So our purpose teams are really like that. So the green bubbles are engineers and the orange one is a product manager. Yeah. And so sometimes you have 2 product managers. We're just lying and maybe exaggerating a little bit. So sometimes 2, 4, 8 or 10. And we have supporting functions like quality, logistics, controlling, or just like Uli and I, we are also in the supporting functions. And so what we make very clear at the beginning of a design thinking project is that cross-functionality is a key for the results. So we need to make it clear to the sponsor so that we get a team like the one that Uli will show, like this one. Yeah, so that would be the ideal team. So we have about half from the purpose team and the other half or the third coming from other teams. And I think that's something that we have managed to settle, I would say. But this is challenging, yeah.
Exactly. So also important for our project is the starting point. So what is the right approach for the team? Because design thinking is a very good method, but not always the right one for a project. So there are also other agile methods like Lean Startup, Business Model Canvas, Value Proposition. And at the beginning of each project, we talk with the team and we talk with our experts which methodology could be the best for them. And often we have the problem that the people are coming very late, so they already have a prototype. And of course, we could test this prototype, but we try to challenge the teams and ask them what are the real user benefits of this prototype? Do you really know the user benefits? And also, what do you want to learn from the prototype? Because it shouldn't be the case that they test a prototype only just that they get their answers they wanted. So the user benefit should be in the center. Our user is the most important thing. So Ilona, should we listen to our user?
Yeah, so actually, of course, when you have a complicated prototype, the user cannot be stupid because the user is paying for our salary. So that's that can only be a wrong assumption. And this is what we make clear to the team. Also, what we work on are stereotypes. So especially against craftsmen, for instance, there are a lot of stereotypes. So it's really important that the team is aware of all the stereotypes in their heads before the user interview so that they really give every user a chance to surprise them. Also to listen actively, because then they are ready to get feedback and also should be grateful for any feedback, even if it's negative.
Now we're coming to my favorite point, warm-ups in big companies. Of course, the warm-ups should be planned very thoroughly. So you should figure out what does the team need. You shouldn't make a warm-up because you have to, or just because of the fun that it makes. In which moment or in which phase should you make a warm-up? So if the energy is low, you can make a warm-up, but you shouldn't make a warm-up because it's on your agenda. Explain what you do and why you are doing it, okay? So otherwise it doesn't make sense. And again, wording topic, don't call a warm-up, because if they hear warm-up, they will also run out of the building. So we call it energizer or icebreaker, or we don't call it anyway, and we just started it. So one important thing is start small and easy. So don't pick the most complicated warm-up, because in a big corporate, the people are a little bit special. So start small and easy, and ensure the space is safe. So don't make a dancing warm-up in front of the main building, for example.
And now in the online world, for instance, it's also good to know who is in the office right now, so that you don't maybe do so much with standing up and sitting down if they are in the middle of the open space. And by the way, there is a very, very good Wednesday web jam number 38 about warm-ups.
Exactly. So this is the best hint in our talk today. What about structure, Ilona?
Structure, yeah, very important for us at Bosch. Why? Engineers are very structured people. So by the way, Uli and I are engineers as well. So we can talk about what we know. So it's important that we are very well prepared before the sessions. And it's important that we are well organized and very transparent about what we're doing. So what are the objectives of the upcoming session? After the session, what are the next steps? Then who's doing what? And also to have a clear archiving, so finding structures helps team a lot to stay on track. So Uli, in a nutshell.
Design thinking in a nutshell, or introducing design thinking in a nutshell. Be patient. A mindset change needs time, and often it needs a lot of time. Be mindful with the team. So your team are your users in that moment. You are running a workshop, for example, and you have to figure out what do they really need. So do they need a workshop where they have structure? Do they need a workshop where they have fun, transparency? Do they need time or energy? And of course, adapt your expectations to the context. So you all know the remote online sessions or remote workshops are really stressful. So in-person workshops are not that stressful, and be aware of it. And also, it's maybe not a good idea to run a workshop Friday afternoon. And our colleagues, they have a lot of projects in parallel. So often they have to do firefighting elsewhere. And be aware, the main important thing, also the design thinking virus may be contagious. That was our last slide. So Ilona, we talked a little bit. Maybe the participants should also work a little bit. What do you think?
I agree, definitely. So we have prepared an exercise for you, because I guess you don't want to listen to us for an hour, right? So we have prepared a microboard. I don't know if a link has been sent in the chat.
It's already in the chat.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Anupa. So basically, each room will have 2 panels, a red one to write down your challenges and obstacles, and a green one for the possible solutions. Okay, so only there's 2. In the middle, you will have the explanation. So it's again what I'm just saying right now. So at the beginning, you will have 12 minutes in total. At the beginning, take time to get to know each other if you don't know each other yet. And then talk about the obstacles, challenges, and after 6 minutes, switch to the solutions. So pick maybe 3 of the challenges and try to discuss together about the solutions that you have found and exchange about it. And you will have a chance to present your work in the plenary after the breakout room. Any question? So have a good beaming process to the breakout rooms.
And hopefully we get a lot of solutions at the end.
Yes, I think we've left the group with a lot of food for thought, and I'm just going to make out the breakout rooms. Feel free to get comfortable in your breakout rooms, and the timer will start. So I'm just going to do that. You all know who needs to get back to the plenary, so please don't be in the breakout rooms. Uli, Ilona, and Uli. And off you guys go.
Yoo-hoo, bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
So how are you all feeling? I think you've given us a lot of great insight that, you know, I think we all kind of understand, and we've been through that. And yeah, maybe you can share a bit more.
Yeah, I saw a point regarding hierarchy, and I think it's an interesting one because we have seen a very huge transformation over the last years. So I think it was in the frame of the HR transformations. So for instance, our board members used to wear suits and ties and to be addressed with a polite you. And they had their separate offices, and now they are part of us. So in the open spaces, now we use the normal, the normal you that we have in German. So they are more accessible, and it's really funny because we had a day, I think it was a few weeks ago, we were prototyping in the open space, and there was one of our board member who stepped by and he said, "Oh wow, what are you doing? Oh yeah, maybe you could do this and this and that." So it's really, they are giving feedback, seeking for feedback. It's really a different approach. Yeah. So we don't feel this hierarchy like it was in the past, right, Uli?
Exactly, yeah. So it makes, so they are more part of the team, let's say it this way. So they're really close to all the team members. So I can only speak about my boss, but we have a really good, we have a really good working together. Yeah, we really work good together, let's say it this way. And very openly, we give feedback, we seek feedback. So this is very good kind of working.
I don't know how many years it's ago, but it's like probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I did some work for Bosch near Stuttgart at Heilbronn, I think, at the UX department.
Feigen, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a small team that wanted to learn about service design. And I've learned, it's sort of an anecdote I always share. I never talk about which company that was sort of I learned, but now you're here. I learned this new kind of word about innovation. They talked about their innovation departments, technology, as their submarines. And they talked about this idea of submarines because the business kind of, and it's interesting you talk about hierarchy, because at that time there was strong hierarchy.
Yeah.
People were.
Oh, by the way, talking about the artifacts, we had separate lifts in the headquarters for the board members and the rest.
Exactly. Yeah, no, but there was sort of a fear. I remember talking about to the team we were kind of training or supporting, that at one point I said, you are afraid of everything. You're afraid of customers because it was the automotive industry. So it was sort of, and the automotive industry is all very secretive and all that, of course. But I said, you're afraid of everyone and everything. What's going on? But it's good to hear that kind of changed, because there was so much talent, and it's such an amazing company, really.
I think it's not only hierarchy, but we are really afraid of failure, of mistakes, because we want to have the perfect product before we test and do it. We are afraid of negative feedback. And this is what we are trying to change within us right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not easy. I have experience. So 1.5 years ago, in my organization, for the first time, we decided to stop products in the development phase after user research. And this was the first time, and this was very painful, but this was very courageous on the other hand, yeah.
Yeah, but you need to have some courage, right? So, yeah, sorry, Uli.
Exactly. You need the courage, and also you need a mindset change, because that we go out and talk to our users is a new thing for us. So not completely new, but I experienced that way that I had a workshop with a team, a cross-functional team, and we talked about what we are going to do. And then we said, okay, we make a observe phase and we go out and speak to users. And then one person gets really big eyes. What do you say, Uli? What do you mean with we go out to users? And I said, yes, we could go out to users and talk to them. And the next workshop, he was not there anymore. So this is always a thing, because we know what we are doing, and since 40 years I know how to do it, and now I have to talk to the user. It's sometimes hard. So
no, exactly. So that was my experience. So I had because basically we guided them through things like doing user research, but I was in a B2B environment. So which is slightly, I think, more scary, but they were really afraid to go to customers. But they always came back. Once we kind of pushed them, they called us their reality distortion field. Every time we came to the office and to do another session with them, they said, every time we were like, no, you shouldn't do it that way. You should do it differently. Go talk to your customers. And they went, and every time they went, they came back. So they went to Toyota, Japan, for instance. They said, they're not going to talk to us, because they're scary, and and they came back and they said they loved it. They said, finally, you're listening to it. And they were to us, they're listening, and oh wow, and they really were like, wow, we've learned so much, and they were awesome. They're really nice, and it was every time the experience was so positive. And it struck me that such an amazing company with so much innovation had such a difficult relationship with innovation when it's actually your business. That's why you are an awesome company. But then somehow there's this, and then there's you being afraid of being wrong, making mistakes. When actually,
anyway. And also I had a team. They made some interviews and they tested the prototype or whatever. And they came back. They were really sad because the prototype was not that good for the customer.
Exactly.
And they say, oh, it was not bad. And I said, okay, it's great. It's a great result, because now you know what to change. And don't go on with the product until product launch and nobody else will buy it. So this mindset change of failure, that you're allowed to fail and that it's good to fail if you ask customers, is really a mindset change that takes time. But I think we are on a good way.
But I think it's awesome because you are in the sort of the German heartland of it's Schwabish. It's the most traditional. If engineers, this is like, if you are changing, if you are able to do that in that kind of culture, I mean, then it's like, to me, it's like that's so hopeful. It's like, wow, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do
if you
have
can do it there, you can make it everywhere. So.
No, exactly my point. Exactly my point. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to ask you, and I think ask Ilona. So if I understand correctly, there was some fear to change or to adopt design thinking mindset. So at this moment, how would you describe the fear? Has it been reduced or has it been replaced by other emotions? So if it has been replaced by other emotions, which are those?
I think it depends on where in the change process you are. I attended a training which was about agility, and there were people from different business units. So there was one, she was just coming back from maternity leave. So the change had been done in her business unit. She was not afraid at all. She was really relaxed. She knew, okay, it was behind her. Then we had few of Uli's business units who were about to change, and they were so reluctant and so stressed and said, but we have the best product in the world. Why should we change ourselves? There is no reason for that, yeah? And in that frame, design thinking was a kind of buzzword amongst many, many other buzzwords. And that's why I think the terminology was burned very quickly. And then there were us. We still had 1 year to go. So we were just observing the people. Okay, this is how we will look like in 1 year from now. And it really depends on where you are. And I think now that all business units have gone through that process, and we have survived, and we are still there, and we enjoy this cross-functional work. I mean, it sells for itself, yeah. Now we are much more working together. We have a kind of sense of purpose, because we have a direct link to the product. Even if we are in the logistics, we know we have direct link to the product and to the users. And now, especially now with the pandemic, where we have conducted so many interviews online, we had the chance to broadcast and to have a simultaneous translation into English. So we had people from other regions, from North America, for instance. We had people from the plants, plants in Asia, who never got a chance to get in touch with users. So it was so great. So the word is spreading on its own, so to say.
I have a question for you both. Since now that, because of the pandemic, the scale and the regions are, becoming much more open, are you seeing a difference in the way that you approach design thinking in different cultures? Or how are you approaching this in terms of scalability or in terms of even the adaptability, because everything has become remote?
This is a tough one, I think, because I mean, a lot of times we have to test prototypes, and these are physical prototypes, and now it's not, we can't test them anymore because it's everything is remote. But we figured out that we can make other types of prototypes, for example, some paper prototypes or some sketches, some marketing pages or landing pages, that we get the insights we need and not sending the prototypes to the persons. So we make it all over Zoom or over Skype to get the insights. But it's really hard, and it takes more time than do it in person. And also, if we make some workshops in person, it's no problem to make the whole day a workshop, 8 hours workshop, no problem. And if we make it remotely, we divide the workshops into a very small workshops, so 2 hours, 3 hours, because otherwise the people they can't handle it, because everything is remote.
Yeah, on the other side, I think the online world is more democratic. So our headquarters is based in the Swabian capital, just like Arne mentioned. Yeah, so it's near Stuttgart. And so mainly as design thinking workshops, when they are in presence, you need to have all the people there. So we had mainly people from the headquarters in the past, and since 1 year, we have people from North America, from Hong Kong, and suddenly it's opening also new ways of collaboration, and I think this is something we could have done before, but we needed some kind of disruption to make the step. And I think if we are all at home, then it's really democratic. It's not like having 5 people in a room talking to each other, and then 1 or 2 guys just watching in their camera, in their screen, and with a bad connection. I mean, now it's really we are all on the same page, yeah.
We're about to close the rooms, just telling you all, so you will have everybody coming back to the plenary. Yeah, I'm just going to close the room.
I also want to invite Howard to add questions to the conversation we had. If I remember well, Howard, you used to work in a large corporation as well, didn't you?
Yes, that's correct, and thank you for pulling me in the engagement. Yes, I used to work for a large organization, retail organization. They happen to be one of the biggest here in the Middle East. And to be quite honest, I know this is recorded on YouTube, but I don't really care if they'd have a look into it. they're one of they fear change in short. So I was trying to bridge silos, and they didn't want to play. And what happened was, of instead of me being able to bridge silos, they evidently got rid of me. And I got warnings that, look, if you wouldn't play the game as much as you can up until that they respect you, they're gonna get rid of you. But I crusaded on, just to my best, passion, I'd say. And the champions within that organization did say that, Howard, you did the right thing, but the culture, the traditional culture is so, it's so deep rooted in them that when you come in, they see you really as a threat. So that's just like my inside share. To this day, I don't really regret it, because I think that the universe will position me for better environments. That's, I guess that's what I want to share.
So that's lovely to share this kind of courage. I mean, it's a great insight, and also a great story and a journey that you shared with us. Uli and Ilona, would you like to share some, interaction with the participants and take this forward?
So welcome back to everyone. I saw in the chat that it was not long enough. So I think this is really a topic that you could discuss for hours, and that we could discuss for hours with you, because it's a very huge topic about this transformation. Does any of the breakout rooms want to share in the plenary about their challenges, and maybe if you manage to talk about some solutions for those? Witte.
I've got a really, really burning question that we've been discussing without putting anything on the Miro board, regrettably. And that was, how would you introduce design thinking into a larger organization if you can't get the entire organization? You introduced for me, the most important point right at the beginning of your presentation by saying, oh, it's a top-down process. We decided, poof, there it was. And then it's about implementation. But really, I'm not working in a large organization. I used to, but I'm working a lot with administration that is local government. So I have like an entity of about 100 people, and they say, we want to change something. So how would they be able to do that? Knowing that the rest of the organization will not follow, and they will probably not even be interested. And this is just, there's so many frictions and if you have anything to say, or anybody else, to how would you do that? What's your level of reference? How would you start a process like that? I'd be highly interested.
We had the same at the beginning, because design thinking was not so well known. It was really one of those buzzwords, and we had some kind of projects where on a voluntary base. So we just formed groups of people working on some challenges, and they were just having fun together. And, the people were just walking on the floor and looking at them. Hey, it looks like they have a lot of fun, and then those people, again, the word is being spread on its own, so to say, from the people. Of course, you need the management buy-in at the beginning, but if you have a kind of pilot projects with non-risky challenges, and where you can show results very quickly, thanks to design thinking, for instance, the methodology sells on its own, basically. That's our experience.
And also, maybe if you only take some parts of the design thinking process, for example, as a start, and maybe then you convince the management with this small part of design thinking that there is a sense behind it, and maybe then you get you're allowed to do it in a broader way the next time, for example.
It's like one of our local universities. they have a space for design thinking, which has been designed for design thinking explicitly, and they call it the aquarium. So everybody walk by and see people, watch people working. But this is, first, it is an exception. I think it's a very good one. And second, you have to want it from management perspective.
I think it's you need to be careful. It needs to be something where you have a visible part, but also a space which is still safe for the team. But you see, if they are all the time this aquarium, then they won't do any warm up or something like this. Yeah, it needs to be. You need to make visible the steps, for instance, or prototypes, some kind of artifacts, and the rest should be, the team should be on its own when they need it.
We have a comment in the chat about room 9, if they could share their experience.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Hugo, I think it's referring to your comment, like rebrand design thinking as a fluid project methodology. So maybe you want to expand a bit on that.
Yeah. Sorry, I was late. Then I dropped in room 9. But one of the things that we were discussing.
And put on the spot right away.
Yeah, it was the perception that companies or large companies have of design thinking, and I think that design thinking should be branded as fun for grown-ups, because people think, or leaders think, this is just for fun, to innovation, and just to create products, and then we pass this to project management and to implementation and operations. So design thinking is it implies breaking some stones. It implies difficult and meaningful conversations. It implies works and people get together in order to synchronize agendas. So this is serious stuff with a creative and with an imaginative approach. But if you compare design thinking with strategy has a more grow up image than design thinking. And I think that we need to do that. How can design thinking can be a grow up tool in the business world? So because if we want to work in big organizations and work in corporates, then we have to maintain our identity, but to show that design thinking is a very structured approach with tools, and we can be the most chaotic and innovative in each stage or frame. But it's not only to create stuff, but then to implement them. We can use creative design thinking in order to see which is the best way to deploy this with the people that we have and the customers that we have. So my idea was to rebrand design thinking as a big boys tool in order of the corporate world. Boys and girls, sorry. Okay.
And I've seen some examples of that where like more formal organizations or more process oriented, they have their which they used to have like defined in Excel sheets. They have lined it out like that, and I think it does really help. So I really like the idea.
Yeah. Because you have companies where, for example, Coach is a corporate tool or approach, and where design thinking is a corporate tool or approach. It is designed in work descriptions and processes, etc. So the question is that design thinking, I don't know, can be just perceived as the fun thing, or just to create thinking in order to agitate people, and then we go back to our daily life. So no, big boys, fun and serious, and girls, sorry. Big boys.
I think one of the challenges there that I've seen, right, is because the design thinking methodology isn't as linear as a lot of those other more mature, that people consider, oh, this is more mature, right? It's really just because it's not as linear, right? So from the outside, it doesn't look as structured. So I think you're onto something there.
And I think it's about capacity planning, because you cannot ensure an outcome, and you cannot say, okay, you invest 6 people for 3 weeks and then you will get your outcome. So we need to live with this kind of open ending, yeah. And maybe we need an iteration, maybe 2. And I think this is what is difficult for the management at the beginning to understand.
But I still think that you can define maybe not what the outcome is, but say what is a successful outcome looks like. Let's say a user validated prototype with this many users or this many end users. So I normally try to shift it to like, what is your expectations? And I said, don't get worried if you feel like we're not going there. I know that's where you want to get, and I'm going to get you there, but you have to trust the process there. So I think if you have that alignment on what that outcome look like, you can you can take them on the journey. It's not everybody accepts that, but that's what I normally try to do.
Yeah.
But the stakeholder management is really important. As you mentioned it, you can't promise 2 unicorn ideas. And often stakeholders think they do a design thinking workshop without iteration, and they have a great product at the end. And that's not design thinking, but they have to understand it. So it's a long way until they really know what design thinking is.
Yeah, that's about navigating with uncertainty. I mean, you can promise that maybe after a certain period of time, you will have a validated prototype, but you cannot tell if it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month, because you don't know how many iterations you need.
Yeah. And sometimes it's about semantics, because corporates are more focused and based on products and services. And design thinking is rather, okay, paths and solutions and impacts, then will materialize in products and services. And probably that kind of shifting in the semantics can be useful in terms of, okay, this is about developing and evolving, not about creating something and then just dump it on the market and then try to convince people with marketing and sales to buy them. It's otherwise, okay, let us co-create what you need, which are your pains and gains. And then how, as an organization, I can create impacts and solutions that can materialize, or a product or service or initiative, whatever.
Jimena would like to share
maybe
something.
just to comment on Hugo, actually I applied design thinking within the frame of the project. We moved into a new building and I applied design thinking because I told my colleagues, hey, you go and ask the colleagues what they need in this new building. I didn't say it's design thinking, but I mean, there are many ways you can use design thinking also for your own colleagues. Yeah. and this is, I think, the starting point when they recognize, hey, they are doing something for me, so I could do the same for our users. I mean, it's just like deploying the mindset.
Yeah, sure.
Jimena?
Hi, thank you. I think, well, one I forgot the comment, but the second one was about that. You mentioned that people or companies go for like product and service, but it comes from the people's mindset, right? On I've got to start before, or what I find where I'm at, it's I can't focus yet. Well, yes, I have to focus on what I'm going to deliver in my service, but I have to look within, and my colleagues and people who are part of it, and the organization, they're doing well and they're listened to. Because if I will listen to my clients and if I will listen to others, I can say that I do that externally. If I'm not doing that internally, if I'm not consolidating this part inside the organization, because it doesn't make sense to do something outside or pretending you're doing that if you're not doing this much more like stronger inside. So despite like any process, I think it's in the end the person or the people who genuinely commit to listen, right, to connect to all the rest, because in the end you have the tangible, right, within the product, but there's a long way to in the end come to that. And on the other part was about, like Arnett was mentioned it, sorry, I remembered, about trusting the process and so on. And I think that perhaps here loosely it said that it's better things are changing somehow, or seeing differences, maybe not big but small ones, and it's better that than having nothing change or not, because Ulrich and Ilona wrote, right, it's very hard to have that change of mindset and behaviors and so on, because it's so deeply rooted. But when you see these little differences, and it's very important to share those little differences, because maybe one doesn't even notice, because I was just saying like, oh, maybe I'm a failure at work, like I don't see anything that's different. And I said like, no, maybe you haven't noticed this person made this comment. That means that before they hadn't made this comment before. That's a difference. So that's also very important to know on what we're doing, to have this little feedback that maybe we don't necessarily know. But yeah, thank you. Back to me.
I think that's very important what you say, Jimena, because actually this change starts in the team. in the team where the team members work together and interact together. And if you, I mean, as a coach, you need to lead by example. You need to give feedback and seek for feedback, and to make sure that the people can work together and can deal with conflicts and things like this. So you need to leave first human centricity within the team before going outside to the users. That's totally right. Yeah.
We have one more question before we carry on. Katja, would you like to ask?
Yeah, actually, it's not a question. I think if you don't stop the design thinking process with the prototype, but take it further until presenting the end, but also helping in the implementation phase and using the business model, using road mapping, etc., then the companies understand design thinking more as a method which really serves the whole innovation process. And in my experience, we have several projects we do with companies, and especially two companies, big companies, ask at the beginning, "Oh, Katja, we actually don't want design thinking, but can you coach us in this process?" I said, yeah, I can do it. And actually we were doing design thinking, but they didn't wanted me to do design thinking because there is this image, and don't ask me why, of superficial, fun, etc. And yeah, I think something went wrong when we were promoting design thinking because of all these pictures with post-it and people laughing, etc. I mean, we know that the positive emotions and fun is very good for the creative process in design thinking, but that also provoked that in corporate people think that is not serious. So as you said, you can do design thinking and call it just an innovation process or whatever.
I think that it's an important part to acknowledge, because I think all people, whether it's users, employees, are all looking at that sense of comfort. So whether you're, initiating a new sense of a new method or a new process, I think they would like to connect with something that they have, or be surprised and just jump right into it. I think there is always this sense of adaptability that comes in. Giving that in mind, thank you, Ilona and Uli, for having this wonderful session with us, sharing all your knowledge and your experiences. It was absolutely fantastic. We will be sharing the slides that they have discussed today on our website next week or so, so keep a lookout. And now I'll find Pedro somewhere in this big, big jam, and let him introduce our next session. And please stay back, because we have more conversations with these two in the backstage.
Well, thank you so much, Anupa. Next week, I think we'll have a session that will be pretty much a sequel of what we've been talking today. And so this will be 10 reasons why designers struggle for C-suite access and actually to get one of those seats. And so we'd like to see Ulrich and Ilona promoted to the board of directors, and how to do it, and why do designers or innovators struggle to get there? What is the problem with us innovators to get those top seats and influence big companies in a stronger way? And Jose Manuel, he's a great designer. He's working for the former Philips Lighting USA. So he's the head of design for the Americas. And he has some very interesting life experience in the field. And he also was preparing his PhD, and he finished his PhD. And the key question was about how to really have a bigger influence on this at C-suite level, and how to get there. And in that way, steer these large companies into a more innovative path. And so he found 10 big reasons why innovators struggle to get there. And I think it will be a very, very interesting session. And so I invite you all to join us again next week and have a continuation of this conversation of today, which is definitely for me one of my favorite topics. So thank you to Ilona and Ulrich for bringing this to the table. I really appreciate it. I couldn't be full-time here, I need to pick up on what was published on YouTube to see the beginning of the whole session. Thank you so much for your part.
And now we can switch off YouTube and hop into the backstage.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
So how are you both feeling? It was absolutely
What was
marvelous.
that last slide?